Coming up on the Rockbridge Report, Hurricane Ian has turned into a tropical storm, but is not done with Florida yet. We'll have an update on its path and how it may affect the Rockbridge area weather. We'll also tell you why a group of Virginia students walked out on school Tuesday, angry at Governor Glenn Youngkin. Mountain View Elementary School is getting a new air heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system, but will other schools in the area follow? All that and more coming up on the Rockbridge Report.
Live from the campus of Washington and Lee University with news from Rockbridge County, this is the Rockbridge Report.
Welcome to the Rockbridge Report. I'm Victoria Ernst.
And I'm Avalon Purnell. Tropical Storm Ian is barreling into central Florida this evening after making landfall on Florida's southwest coast yesterday afternoon with 155-mile-per-hour winds and record-breaking storm surge. The storm flooded homes on both of the state's coasts, cut off the only bridge to a barrier island, destroyed a historic waterfront pier, and knocked out electricity to 2.6 million Florida homes and businesses. At least one man was confirmed dead. CNN's Ivan Rodriguez is in Punta Gorda, just north of where the storm made landfall.
Holy, how is this possible?
Tied as the fourth most powerful hurricane to hit the Sunshine State, Ian blasted ashore Wednesday just shy of a Category 5 storm, bringing with it catastrophic winds, life-threatening flooding, and torrential rain.
The parking garage that we're still in right now with no power, is it was buckling, it was shaking.
As daylight emerges, residents will get their first glimpse at the scope of the damage. Many residents trapped in their homes where they chose to ride out the storm.
The Caloosahatchee River has flowed through the bottom floor of this house, and we're safe on the second floor.
More than 2.5 million residents were told to evacuate before the storm. Those who didn't will have to wait.
We will get to them as soon as we can, as soon as the winds die down, the water subsides, and the roads are cleared.
And as Ian continues its destructive march across Florida, the Orlando area and parts of the East Coast are getting pummeled with that rain and wind.
We were already expecting about 12 to 20 inches of rain. Some places could see up to 30 inches. So stay home, stay safe.
Chaz Chappell will join us later in the newscast with more details on Hurricane Ian, as well as our local forecast for the next few days and what looks like a rainy weekend.
Long lines of Russians trying to escape being called up to fight in Ukraine continue to clog highways out of the country this week. Moscow reportedly set up draft offices at borders to intercept some of them. North Ossetia, a Russian region that borders Georgia, declared a state of high alert and said that food, water, warming stations, and other aid should be provided to those who have spent days in lines. Georgia's Interior Ministry said over 53,000 Russians have entered the country since last week. There are also long lines at the border with Kazakhstan, which has taken more than 98,000 Russians in the past week. Methane leaking from the damaged Nord Stream pipelines is likely to be the biggest burst of the potent greenhouse gas on record. CNN's Nick Robertson explains just how grave the damage is and what could be behind the reasons for the leak.
Well, these leaks are so big they can be seen by satellite. The largest one is about 1 kilometer, more than half a mile across. The smaller one, about 200 meters, 200 yards across. They're beginning to look like sabotage. Seismic experts in Sweden and Denmark picked up explosions, what they think are underwater explosions at 2 a.m. Monday local time and 7 p.m. Monday. The first one being about 2.3 on the Richter scale, the second one about 2.1 on the Richter scale. And they say these don't look like earthquakes. They look like explosions that happened close to the bottom of the ocean. Nord Stream, that operates the pipelines, says that to have a rupture in a pipeline is about a 1 in 100,000 year event. So to have 3 ruptures in pretty much the same place at pretty much the same time really does cast suspicion that this was not a naturally occurring event. Now, Sweden's foreign minister said that more information is required, but when she was asked, could there be more of these types of incidents, she seemed to point the finger of blame at Russia and at President Putin.
We need to be prepared for it.
Putin has shown that he's desperate right now because Ukraine has shown, with the support of the West, an incredible ability of endurance and has shown that it isn't as easy as Putin thinks. And therefore we need to be prepared that he will act irrationally and cruelly.
Well, Norway's oil minister is also saying it looks like sabotage. There's very little hard, specific evidence to say precisely what caused the ruptures in the pipeline. The concern is, though, that this does look at face value at the moment, the supposition of European officials seeming to point towards Russia as being responsible, a potential here that President Putin is upping the tensions, upping the stakes with the West. Nick Robertson, CNN, London.
Rockbridge and Allegheny counties are seeking proposals to ease overcrowding in both counties' jails. One solution could be to build one larger shared facility. The study of renovations or new buildings should be complete by early to mid-2023. Meanwhile, the Rockbridge Regional Jail is expanding classes on vocational skills to help inmates find jobs once released. To learn more, read Stephanie Chigalori's full story on our website. Virginia taxpayers' wallets are a little fuller thanks to a one-time tax rebate, but not all taxpayers qualify. You can check your eligibility or the status of your refund at www.tax.virginia.gov. Feeding America declared September Hunger Action Month, but hunger continues to grow across the country. So the U.S. Agricultural Department announced it would provide almost $2 billion of additional money for food banks across the country. As Adam Lamberti reports, that includes right here in Rockbridge County.
Members of the Rockbridge Area Relief Association are feeling positive about the government commitment to slow the rise in hunger across the nation.
We might not see the immediate effects instantaneously, but it's just really encouraging to know that we have, leadership now that's sending money our way.
The Rockbridge Area Relief Association, or RARA for short, hosts a free neighborhood grocery 4 days a week for those in need. Chaudhry Sands has seen an uptick in community members relying on the neighborhood grocery due to increased food prices and economic hardship.
We do about 300 tons of food out of here a year, and that sounds pretty impressive, but it's also the fact that we're only a team of 5, and so we really rely heavily on volunteers here.
One of these volunteers is Carol Calkins, who has been with RARA for 15 years now. She says the grocery sees a steady stream of people while she is working.
We average, on a busy day, probably close to 30 people come through in a 2-hour period. So that's pretty impressive.
Additionally, other local nonprofits are increasing their food output to help out the Rockbridge community. This week, the community table for the Rockbridge area reopened its in-person dining room for the first time since the pandemic. It operates in the basement of the RARA building.
The need is growing, but fortunately, organizations like RARA, there's, I believe, a food bank in Natural Bridge in Glasgow as well. They're doing everything they can to respond to the crisis.
Reporting from Lexington for the Rockbridge Report, I'm Adam Lamberti.
Coming up on the Rockbridge Report, students at nearly 100 Virginia schools walked out of class Tuesday to protest. Stay with us to find out why. Students in one Rockbridge County school will be getting relief from the summer heat in the form of a new ventilation system. We'll tell you more.
While Ian may have been downgraded to a tropical storm, we're still going to see some impacts in Lexington. My predictions coming up.
Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report. I'm Avalon Purnell.
And I'm Victoria Ernst. Since the pandemic, many Lexington businesses have had to reduce their hours because of staffing shortages. The solution for many employers was to increase wages. However, multiple restaurants have increased wages but are still understaffed. But wages have not increased for everyone. Some local hotels still pay their employees the minimum of $11 per hour. Read Tyler Pachia's full story on the Rockbridge website, rockbridgereport.wlu.edu.
Students in Virginia get one excused absence to protest. Several took it on Tuesday when students at nearly 100 schools walked out of class over the governor's proposed policies surrounding parental rights and transgender students. CNN's Bruce Leshen has the story.
Human rights! Trans rights are human rights!
Hundreds of students at McLean High School offer a measure of how far America has traveled on trans rights and how far it has yet to go.
Trans rights are human rights!
Casey Calabria, 17, non-binary, says they only came out while surrounded by the diverse, accepting community at McLean.
We are scared. I am scared.
But was bullied, misgendered on their sports team, and suicidal at another less tolerant school.
We are loud. We are proud.
These are real kids who are scared out of their minds with this policy.
Governor Youngkin calls it parental rights. The new model state policy would out some closeted kids to their parents, cut trans students off from sports teams and bathrooms that match their gender identity, and force teachers to use names and pronouns matching school records.
You're not indoctrinating anyone. You're not grooming children. You are telling children that were born queer that you are okay to be queer.
Students at nearly 100 schools across the Commonwealth urging the governor to change his mind.
I am scared of this man. My friends are scared of this man. How can he stand there and say that he loves this country and this state if he wants to hurt us?
Virginia's Education Department website has thousands of comments about the policy, most opposing the governor's plans. The comment period is open until October 26. Students, teachers, and staff at Mountain View Elementary School have endured another hot start to the year, with temperatures inside the building worse than outside, until this week. But the Rockbridge County School Board recently approved a new multi-million-dollar heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system to replace the building's failing air conditioner. As Lily Mott reports, it's welcome news at Mountain View, but other county schools are waiting for the same relief.
When you walk in a school, you may expect to hear children laughing, teachers explaining material, or even the ring of a school bell. At Mountain View Elementary School, the first noise you'll hear is probably coming from the school's heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, or HVAC system.
I'm here at Mountain View Elementary School, where the school is set to receive a new HVAC system this summer. And if you can hear that rumbling behind me, that is exactly why the system needs to be replaced.
The Rockbridge County School Board approved the $2.8 million project to replace the HVAC system at Mountain View Elementary School at their meeting on September 13th. The county plans to cover the entire project using a mix of grants and federal funding.
We think we're going to be able to, between grant funding, ESSER funding, we think we're going to be able to fund that project completely.
Rockbridge County Public Schools received about $4 million from ESSER, or the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund. The school district will use $1.6 million of the county's construction funds from the state of Virginia, a portion of the county's ESSER funds, and an HVAC grant to fund the Mountain View renovation.
We hope to have all the equipment on site by May of 2023. They'll start construction right away.
Randy Walters anticipates that the project will be finished before the start of the new school year.
In the fall, it's extremely hot, so we want to make sure that we have air and that the kids are comfortable when they return to school.
Mountain View Elementary is the first in a line of schools waiting for HVAC renovations in Rockbridge County. Natural Bridge Elementary and the Effinger Central Office and Preschool are next on the capital improvement plan for HVAC renovations. Also on the plan, an $8 million upgrade for the Career and Technical Education Center at Rockbridge County High School. For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Lily Mott.
Coming up shortly on the Rockbridge Report, everyone loves donuts, unless you live near where they are made. Shauna Muckle brings us a live report on a Lexington controversy with some holes in the story.
Coming right up, we'll also have Chaz Chappell with an update on Hurricane Ian's destructive path and how it will affect our weather here in Rockbridge County. Hurricane Ian is one of the most devastating natural disasters that Florida has seen in years. Isn't that right, Avalon?
That is right. President Biden said today that this could be one of the deadliest hurricanes in Florida state history. Chaz, could you tell us more?
Yes, so while the impacts have already been devastating, sadly, we still don't know quite the extent of the impacts of Hurricane Ian. CNN's Gloria Pezmino is in Tampa with the latest on the storm.
Hurricane Ian slamming Florida's Gulf Coast with near Category 5 strength, causing life-threatening flooding.
Overwhelmingly, it's been that surge that has been the biggest issue, and the flooding.
The monster storm making landfall with winds of 150 miles per hour.
I've been here since the mid-70s. This is absolutely by far the worst storm I have ever seen. I can tell you, I'm looking at the businesses downtown that are all flooded, windows blown out.
Even before the worst of the storm hit, people in Fort Myers already seeing mass flooding.
The storm surge is very significant. We're actually seeing cars and boats float down the street.
Hurricane force winds bringing down power lines. Ahead of the storm, long lines on interstates as residents scramble to evacuate. Some choosing to stay behind and ride it out.
Well, we're 10.5 feet above sea level right now, and the water is coming into our house right now.
Governor Ron DeSantis submitting a request for a major disaster declaration for all 67 counties, which allows the federal government to send funds for cleanup.
We've enjoyed some warm, dry, and even sunny days, but all of this turmoil in the atmosphere was bound to catch up with us, and it soon will. Moving over here to this beautiful live shot here on Lexington's Main Street, we're going to bring in a little bit more and dive in just a little bit more about the current weather. Looking at today's conditions, we're going to see we're having a high of 67 degrees, so we're getting a little bit colder on average, and then we're going to cool off to around 43 degrees, with a barometric pressure settling in around 30 2/100 inches, a wind speed throughout the day of around 12 miles per hour, and humidity settling in at 56%. Taking a look at our radar, not much is happening. No particular storm movements in here at the current moment, but as we'll get into pretty soon, rain is on its way. Moving into our current conditions throughout Southwest Virginia, we've got up here Lexington, 68 degrees and sunny. 10 minutes down the road in Buena Vista, we got 68 degrees and sunny, same deal. Up here in Stanton, a little bit cooler, 65 degrees and partly cloudy. Similar deal over here in Charlottesville, partly cloudy and 70 degrees. Down here in Lynchburg, a little bit cooler, 67 degrees and cloudy. Moving over here real quick, we got Covington here at 69 degrees and sunny, and down here in Roanoke, 70 degrees and partly cloudy. Taking a look at that 5-day forecast, we can see a lot of rain, as I've said. Tomorrow we're going to see rain with a high of 59 degrees and a low of 53 degrees. On Saturday, we'll see a high of 60 and a low of 55 degrees. Checking out Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. On Sunday, similar deal, rain, Monday, rain. High of 58, low of 50. High of 59, low of 42 on Monday. Again, lots more rain, but then we're finally going to see that sun peek out again on Tuesday, where it's partly cloudy with a high of 67 and a low of 42, so we're warming up a bit more. Avalon and Vic, back to you.
Thanks so much. Coming up on the Rockbridge Report, thanks to a rare heart surgery, this U.S. family has a reason to celebrate.
The soccer ball is bouncing the right way for the WNL men's soccer. Coming up, we'll have the highlights and talk to 2 star athletes.
Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report. I'm Avalon Purnell.
And I'm Victoria Ernst.
The Lexington City Council rejected a proposed donut shop for the south end of Main Street after neighbors complained about potential smells, noise, and traffic. Our reporter Shauna Muckle is live in front of the space that was to become General Donuts. Shauna?
Thanks, Avalon. I'm here in front of the Hub building now, where a proposed donut shop was met with neighbors' disapproval. One said the smell of frying donuts would wake her up at night. Others feared noise generated by the exhaust fan. And yet another said the carry-out traffic from the donut shop would be disrespectful to the neighboring Oak Grove Cemetery. Lexington City Council ultimately rejected the shop based on its failure to meet the definition of a small restaurant as outlined by the city's zoning laws. The Hub building is in a semi-residential part of Lexington that requires most eateries to seek city approval. Now, General Donuts owner will have to find a different spot in Lexington, or leave the city altogether. For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Shauna Muckle.
Thank you, Shauna. You can read her story on our website. Now, I saw that the Generals men team won 2-0. Do you have any thoughts about that?
That's pretty impressive. Eddie Grace, can you tell us more about it?
The General men's soccer team is on the march. Right now, WNL is 6-1-1, coming off of 2 big wins, including one last week against Bridgewater. Mackenzie Kane has the highlights and a conversation with 2 of the stars.
Good evening, Rockbridge. I'm coming to you from Watt Field, where the Washington and Lee men's soccer team has yet again defeated their conference rivals, Bridgewater College, this time in a 5-0 shutout. I'm joined here today by Tyler Smith and Lucas Pleasance. Tyler Smith is a senior captain on this team, and Lucas is a starting midfielder. Lucas, I heard you had a great goal in the second half. Is there anything you believe you did particularly well this game?
I mean, not too much, just playing with the team. He stuck me into the 6 role, so I'm just kind of like floating like to with the back line, so I felt more comfortable there on the ball. But all around, I think the guys did well, contributed to the team, and luckily I had a goal.
And Tyler, is there anything you believe, any way the team dynamic has changed now that you're 7 games into the season?
Well, I think there's always an adjustment period, especially for the first years coming in, learning new roles, new tactics. So I think now that we've gotten into conference play, we've gone through some tough opponents. The freshmen are doing a really good job incorporating themselves. Obviously, the returners have the experience from last year, getting back into the flow of things. I think we're really connecting now as a team, and you see it here tonight.
Best of luck to you both in the future and the rest of your season. And reporting to you live from Watt Field, I'm
We have plenty of scores to get to, but first, a bit of history in Buena Vista. The Perry McClure Hall of Fame will induct 5 new members next week. They include Donnie Holt, class of 56 and 3-sport athlete, Tommy Dickinson, class of 61, football, Mike Gwynn, class of 64, football, baseball, basketball, and track, Daryl Manuel, class of 77, football, baseball, basketball, and Mark Cardeloro, class of 78, basketball. Congratulations to all. And now an update on local sports scores. The Rockbridge County High School volleyball team beat Stanton 2-0 and also defeated Fort Defiance in football with a 29-26 score. Perry McClure defeated Bath County in a 3-1 volleyball match. Yesterday, the Washington and Lee volleyball team beat Hollins 3-0, but fell to Southern Virginia University 0-3 on the 27th. The WNL field hockey team defeated Mary Washington in a heated 8-1 match. And now, moving on to the Virginia Military Institute's men's soccer team, which defeated Mary Baldwin 2-0. VMI women's soccer also triumphed in their match with South Carolina State, ending in a 2-1 victory.
It's World Heart Day. Thanks to a rare surgery, one U.S. family has a reason to celebrate this day. CNN's Mandy Geither reports on the heart procedure that saved an infant's life.
From the beginning, Danielle Edmonds says her son DJ was a miracle.
I ended up having a vanishing twin syndrome.
Despite losing one twin, Edmonds says DJ kept growing, but with a heart defect. She gave birth at 26 weeks.
He coded on us all together about 3 times. As you can imagine, it was scary. I thought I had lost my baby.
After he was born, DJ was on a ventilator, eventually diagnosed with a double outlet right ventricle, a heart anomaly where the left ventricle isn't able to pump blood to the body. Traditional open heart surgery wouldn't help, says Dr. Hani Najum.
We needed to do something.
Deciding what to do started with this 3D image of DJ's heart printed out at Cleveland Clinic.
It's better to have a replica of this heart in my hand in the office so I can decide exactly what I can do, and then I can go in the operating room and execute that operation.
That led Najum to perform a ventricle switch, a procedure he's done before, but never on someone this young. In June 2021, Najum closed the defect and, using a conduit, connected the left ventricle to the pulmonary artery, allowing it to send blood to the lungs.
From there, we could tell he was a whole new baby because his color was coming back.
After time in the pediatric intensive care unit, then rehab, DJ is now home.
He's going to have heart failure for the rest of his life, but he's still here to fight.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
And that is all for today's Rockbridge Report. Keep up to date on more regional news by visiting rockbridgereport.wlu.edu.
And join us again on Tuesday for our weekly news update.